This is a genuine and honest question. How soon after somebody dies is it appropriate to ask for their things? This question is sparked from a conversation I had going from a video yesterday. And there was some hotly debated content in the comments. If you want, I'm not tagging anybody specifically because I don't want to cause any meanness towards them. So I'm a widow, been a widow for 10 years, and I talk about grief and the things we go through as a griever. And it surprises me still over and over again how entitled people feel to a dead person's things, whether it was your mom, whether it was your sibling, whether it was your son, all of those things. And I'm going to come at this from a widow standpoint, and you might come at this from another family member standpoint. My stance was, well, first of all, when that child leaves your home and he gets remarried and has a family, his immediate family should be the first priority on things. Because, first of all, their things are not them. And I do understand that people feel like they want a piece of them. They want something to remember them by. They want to be sentimental. This was my brother's, this was my dad's, this was my son's, because that person's no longer here and they want something to remember them by. Some people just want monetary things to enrich their own lives, and it has nothing to do with the dead person. So many people feel entitled to dead people's things. And so as a widow, I remember people coming to me and asking for things in a mindset that I was not ready to part with those things, and nor my advice to widows, if you can, don't part with those things until you're ready. And so I told somebody, since it was my decision on what happened with those things, that when I was ready to give them away, then it was an appropriate time to talk to people about that. And I was told I was selfish. Now, here's the thing. I did give things away to all of this, to his siblings, to his moms, things that were sentimental. I have no problem giving heirlooms back. He had a stepson with me, but we didn't have kids that those would get passed on to. And so I didn't mind giving special family things back to the family. But there were other things people felt entitled to. And as an experience of most of the widows I talked to, I mean, sometimes people went in and cleared out their homes while they're still in the hospital. They're asking for things while people are still living. Now, being able to ask for things might depend on your relationship to the person who's dying or the person who's dead. If there's not a will and you're not in a state that can test that, like I don't have probate in my state and people weren't coming after me for anything but his life insurance. Someone made a claim against his life insurance. That didn't happen, but somebody did make a claim against it. So why is it that people feel so entitled to other people's things? They're not yours, and apparently they're not mine. That's what I was told. They weren't mine, but there were tons of things that we collected together as a couple as we're building our life together that we integrated in together. And I was told that those needed to go to his mom because she was the first picked. But I was his wife. I think it's flawed in thinking that. And I'm not selfish. Like, I know that people have sentimental things. But I also know that every time I gave something away, I feel like I was giving away a part of my husband. That I was dismantling his life and valuing it just to things. And that's not... No, I would have given everything away if I could have every memory, if I could have a few more moments with him. But he is not his things. He is not his things. And yes, there are some sentimental things I keep. But I would ask you, why do you feel so entitled to other people's things? Why do you feel so entitled? So many people experience like people coming over and stealing things straight out of their home while they're dealing with the funeral, while they're dealing with grief, while they're at the hospital. People are trying to steal things on the way out and the body's still in the house. Like, what gives you the right and what makes that okay in life? Now, I understand that there's lots of situations. Maybe you have a new wife and older kids. Maybe you have kids in another relationship that some of those things you do. I'm understanding of all of that. It's really the thing that bothers me is the entitlement for things that you have nothing to do with, for a life that you didn't build. That's where it bothers me the most. And so I would caution you when you're asking for things. For me, I would want the person who's in charge of those things, or the person who's the closest to them, to reach out to those other people, because it's icky the way that this happens in grief, and people act so awful in grief, and so many feelings get hurt. I would also encourage you to write a will if you want your things to go to specific people, and if you want your finances to be handled by certain people that you trust in advance. Write a will. Write that stuff down. Communicate that stuff, because it makes people just act awful in grief, and they get in fights, and they never talk to people again over stuff. Now, there was no large inheritance to be had on my side. There weren't tons of things with high monetary value to be had. It's just stuff. So maybe be cautious and be mindful, and try not to take advantage of the situation or somebody's widow.